stop. If you are spending hours studying English but still feel stuck, you are making a fatal mistake. Your progress has plateaued for one of 5 simple yet devastating reasons.
That feeling of studying hard but going nowhere is not a personal failure. It's a systemic flaw in your method. We are here to dismantle that system.
We want to save you years of frustration. Today, we expose the 5 biggest mistakes every advanced learner makes and give you the actionable plan to instantly accelerate your journey.
If you want to know the real reason you're not fluent, keep listening.
Hello, and welcome back to the Infinity English podcast. We are thrilled to have you join us for what might be the most crucial 20 minutes of your entire English learning journey.
That's right, Sarah. Today we're not talking about grammar rules. We're talking about experience, specifically the shortcuts learned through past failure. We want to help you avoid all the wasted time and frustration we personally endured.
The title of today's episode is 5 Mistakes I Made Learning English and How to Avoid Them. We are pulling back the curtain on the study habits that kept us stuck for years.
If you feel stuck, if you're plateauing, or if you feel like you're studying hard but making slow progress, chances are you are unconsciously making one of the 5 cardinal mistakes we're about to dissect.
We're diving straight into mistake number 1, only studying grammar. Mistake number 1, only studying grammar. Sarah, this was my biggest initial failing. For years, I treated English like a purely logical formula. I believed if I mastered every single obscure rule, fluency would automatically follow. It didn't. Why is this trap so seductive for high-achieving learners?
It's seductive because grammar offers the illusion of control. It's finite, it has clear rules, and when you solve a grammar problem, you feel a sense of immediate, tangible accomplishment. The harsh reality, Sarah, is that English is a dynamic skill. It's performance, not just knowledge. If you only study grammar, you build a perfect theoretical structure that has 0 practical application.
That is the perfect analogy. I was chasing a theoretical perfect score on a written exam, while my actual ability to hold a spontaneous conversation remained incredibly low. I could name all the tenses, but I stumbled over simple phrases. It was a massive cognitive disconnect.
The crucial realization is that fluency is built on pattern recognition, not on rule recall. When a native speaker talks, they're not mentally conjugating verbs. They're retrieving large chunks of language that sound correct because they've been heard and used thousands of times. Your focus should shift from knowing the rule to hearing and using the correct pattern automatically.
So, if someone is currently spending 80% of their study time buried in a grammar textbook, what is the immediate, actionable solution to truly rectify this deeply ingrained mistake?
The solution is a principle we call the 75-25 input rule. Immediately cut your grammar study to a maximum of 25% of your total study time. The remaining 75% must be dedicated to active input acquisition. You need to encounter grammar in use, in podcasts, books, and articles, not in isolation. Use grammar as a reference tool to check the output of your practice, not as the primary source of learning. This is a foundational change in methodology.
Mistake number 2, not practicing speaking. Ibrahim, I was stuck in a cycle for years where I felt I wasn't good enough to speak, so I waited until I was better. But I never got better because I never spoke. It's a vicious cycle.
It's the perfectionism paradox. People believe fluency means 0 mistakes. The problem is that speaking is a motor skill, not an intellectual one. It's like learning to drive or play the piano. You can read every manual on driving, but until you sit in the car and make those initial jarring mistakes, your brain doesn't learn the physical process.
And the fear is incredibly powerful. The fear of being judged, the fear of misunderstanding, the fear of that awkward silence when you can't retrieve a word. how do C1 and C2 learners who already have a decent passive vocabulary finally break through that psychological barrier and activate their knowledge?
The solution lies in two actionable strategies: the monologue method and the 1-minute rule. The monologue method is internal. Start speaking English to yourself when you're alone, in the shower, doing dishes, or walking. Describe what you see, narrate your day, or argue with yourself. This removes the social pressure entirely and trains your brain for rapid word retrieval. You're building muscle memory without the stress of an audience.
That makes sense. It builds the neural pathways necessary for spontaneous speech. And what about when you do have to speak with another person? How do you overcome the crippling hesitation?
That's where the 1-minute rule comes in. In any conversation, set a tiny, achievable goal. Speak for a minimum of 60 seconds on any topic without pausing for more than 3 seconds. The goal is not perfection. The goal is persistence. If you forget a word, paraphrase it. If you make a grammar mistake, keep going. By forcing yourself to endure that initial minute of discomfort, you teach your brain that survival is possible, and the fear begins to dissipate.
It's about recalibrating the brain's internal risk assessment. You're signaling that making mistakes is simply part of the process, not a crisis. That simple shift in mindset is utterly transformative. Mistake number 3, ignoring listening. Sarah, our third mistake often surprises people because they think they listen a lot. Ignoring focused listening. Ibrahim, many learners put on Netflix or a podcast in the background while they do other tasks and call it listening practice. Why is that approach, which we call passive entertainment, not enough to reach C1, C2 mastery?
It's a crucial distinction. Passive listening for entertainment is excellent for exposure and motivation, but it does nothing for acquisition. You need focused listening to target C1, C2 competency. The brain is excellent at ignoring information it deems non-essential. If it understands 70% of the content, it simply skips the challenging 30%.
So if you're always listening to the easy, comfortable 70%, you never build the neural pathways necessary for the difficult, complex structures required for advanced fluency. How do we turn casual background listening into a rigorous learning activity?
We introduce the 20-minute deep dive method. Choose a short piece of complex English audio, a segment from this podcast, a TED Talk, or a news report, and dedicate 20 minutes to 3 distinct phases. Phase 1, global comprehension. Listen once, purely for the main idea. Phase 2, targeted acquisition. Listen a second time, focusing only on the parts you didn't understand. Actively look up one new complex word or phrase and note it down. Phase 3, active repetition. Use shadowing. Repeat the sentence immediately after the speaker, mimicking their speed, intonation, and rhythm.
Shadowing is powerful because it bridges the gap between passive listening and active speaking. It forces your mouth and brain to process fast, connected native speech simultaneously. It physically trains your mouth to handle the rhythm of English, which we've discussed is key to fluency.
Exactly. C2 fluency isn't just about knowing the definition of a word, it's about being able to articulate it naturally. Focused listening combined with active shadowing is the only way to achieve that phonological mastery.
Mistake number 4, the paralyzing fear of making errors. Ibrahim, let's tackle the biggest mental blockage for almost every learner, especially those who were high achievers in school. Mistake number 4, the paralyzing fear of making errors. The moment you know enough grammar to realize how many mistakes you could make, you freeze up. Why does this need to be treated as a psychological problem, not just a linguistic one?
It is fundamentally a psychological problem because we confuse language learning with performance. In school, mistakes result in a lower grade. In language acquisition, mistakes are data. They are the necessary feedback loop that tells your brain, this pattern is wrong, try another. When you fear mistakes, you stop generating that essential data. You stop learning.
I completely agree. My speaking practice was crippled by the need for perfection. I would pause for 10 seconds just to conjugate one verb correctly, which destroyed the natural rhythm and fluency of the conversation. How can advanced learners, who are often perfectionists, rewire their brains to embrace error?
We have to introduce the concept of fluent over flawless. Your immediate priority is fluency, not accuracy. The brain needs to be trained to keep the language flowing even if a few tenses are wrong. To achieve this, use the error budget strategy. Every time you speak, give yourself an error budget, say 10 mistakes per conversation. As long as you stay within the budget, you win. This relieves the mental pressure to be perfect and encourages you to take risks with complex vocabulary and structures.
That is incredibly freeing. It reframes the mistake as a resource. And beyond the psychological budget, what physical practice can help?
Use rapid recording. Record yourself speaking for exactly 1 minute on a random topic, no preparation, no pausing. Listen back only for fluency markers. Did you keep talking? And one major recurring error, like was or were confusion. Fix that one error only, then record again. You're isolating the problem and reducing the overwhelming feeling of having too many errors to fix. Focus on progress, not perfection.
Mistake number 5, lack of consistency. We come to the final and perhaps the most devastating mistake. Mistake number 5, lack of consistency. Learners tend to study intensely for 5 hours on Saturday and then nothing for the next 6 days. Why is this high-intensity, low-frequency approach the enemy of long-term language acquisition?
Language learning relies on neuroplasticity, the creation of new neural pathways in the brain. These pathways require constant, gentle reinforcement. A 5-hour marathon study session on Saturday creates a deep impression, but without reinforcement over the next week, the brain assumes the information isn't critical and begins to prune or forget those new connections.
The science is clear. Consistency trumps intensity. Small, frequent doses are always superior. How can busy C1, C2 learners, who are often professionals, effectively integrate high-frequency, low-time commitment practice into their demanding schedules?
We implement the 15-minute daily habit. Instead of relying on a dedicated block of time, integrate English into the existing dead time in your day. This means morning commute, 15 minutes of dedicated listening, this podcast. Lunch break, 10 minutes of reading a C2 article. Evening routine, 5 minutes of the monologue method. The goal is 20 to 30 minutes of high-quality exposure every single day. By making English a non-negotiable daily habit, the brain accepts it as a critical skill and stops fighting the learning process. You are utilizing the power of spaced repetition organically.
The key difference here is moving from a hobby to a habit. When something is a habit, you do it without consciously deciding to. That is the definition of a successful long-term learning strategy. We have successfully navigated the 5 most devastating mistakes: only studying grammar, not practicing speaking, ignoring focused listening, fear of errors, and lack of consistency.
And for each mistake, we've provided a strategic, actionable solution. The 75-25 input rule, the monologue method, the deep dive method, the error budget, and the 15-minute daily habit.
This isn't just theory. This is the refined roadmap from experienced learners to you. Applying these 5 solutions consistently will fundamentally change your relationship with the English language and accelerate your journey to C2 mastery. Now, let's wrap up with the final summary and your actionable challenge for the week. We've successfully navigated the 5 most devastating mistakes that hold back advanced English learners. This isn't just a list of don'ts. It's the blueprint for an accelerated study methodology. Let's quickly review the mistake and its corresponding solution.
Think of this as the final check before you launch into fluency. Mistake: treating English as a formula by only studying grammar. Solution: implement the 75-25 input rule. Grammar is a reference, not the core curriculum. Mistake. Being crippled by the fear of making errors. Solution. Use the error budget strategy and accept mistakes as necessary data. Prioritize fluency over flawless accuracy. Mistake. The lack of consistency in practice. Solution. Adopt the 15-minute daily habit. Short, frequent exposure always trumps weekend marathons. Mistake. The perfectionism paradox of not practicing speaking. Solution. Start today with the monologue method and the 1-minute persistence rule. Convert passive knowledge into active skill. Mistake. The inefficiency of ignoring focused listening. Solution. Use the 20-minute deep dive method combined with shadowing to physically train your ear and mouth for native rhythm.
This is the refined roadmap from experienced learners to you. Applying these 5 solutions consistently will fundamentally change your relationship with the English language. This is how you escape the plateau. We have reached the end of our crucial session. This wasn't merely a podcast. It was an audit of your current study habits. The knowledge is now yours. The only thing separating you from C2 fluency is action.
Your challenge for the coming week is practical and simple. Choose one mistake you identified in your own habits, perhaps the fear of speaking, and commit to its corresponding solution, the monologue method, for 7 consecutive days. Track your progress.
Don't let this knowledge dissipate. If this session has saved you even 1 month of wasted study time, please show your support. Hit the like button and, most importantly, subscribe to the Infinity English Podcast. We deliver these actionable clinics every week.
We thrive on your feedback. Tell us in the comments which of the 5 mistakes was your biggest personal roadblock. Sharing your experience helps build our entire community.
Thank you for joining us. Keep practicing, make those necessary mistakes, and enjoy the journey to mastery. We've successfully navigated the 5 most devastating mistakes that hold back advanced English learners. This isn't just a list of don'ts, it's the blueprint for an accelerated study methodology. Let's quickly review the mistake and its corresponding solution.
Think of this as the final check before you launch into fluency. Mistake. Treating English as a formula by only studying grammar. Solution. Implement the 75-25 input rule. Grammar is a reference, not the core curriculum. Mistake. Being crippled by the fear of making errors. Solution. Use the error budget strategy and accept mistakes as necessary data. Prioritize fluency over flawless accuracy. Mistake. The lack of consistency in practice. Solution. Adopt the 15-minute daily habit. Short, frequent exposure always trumps weekend marathons. Mistake. The perfectionism paradox of not practicing speaking. Solution. Start today with the monologue method and the 1-minute persistence rule. Convert passive knowledge into active skill. Mistake. The inefficiency of ignoring focused listening. Solution. Use the 20-minute deep dive method combined with shadowing to physically train your ear and mouth for native rhythm.
This is the refined roadmap from experienced learners to you. Applying these 5 solutions consistently will fundamentally change your relationship with the English language. This is how you escape the plateau. We have reached the end of our crucial session. This wasn't merely a podcast. It was an audit of your current study habits. The knowledge is now yours. The only thing separating you from C2 fluency is action.
Your challenge for the coming week is practical and simple. Choose one mistake you identified in your own habits, perhaps the fear of speaking, and commit to its corresponding solution, the monologue method, for 7 consecutive days. Track your progress.
Don't let this knowledge dissipate. If this session has saved you even 1 month of wasted study time, please show your support. Hit the like button and, most importantly, subscribe to the Infinity English Podcast. We deliver these actionable clinics every week.
We thrive on your feedback. Tell us in the comments which of the 5 mistakes was your biggest personal roadblock. Sharing your experience helps build our entire community.
Thank you for joining us. Keep practicing, make those necessary mistakes, and enjoy the journey to mastery.